You wake up in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock, maybe 3, and your feet hit the cold floor again because your bladder is screaming at you for the fourth time this week. And you shuffle to the bathroom, half asleep, and you think it's just age. You think it's just what happens after 60. But I need you to hear me right now because that midnight trip to the bathroom is not just about your bladder. That is your kidneys sending you a distress signal, and almost nobody is listening. I'm Dr. William, and I've spent over 2 decades researching how the body breaks down and, more importantly, how it rebuilds when you give it the right raw materials. And what I've found is that the kidneys are the most neglected organ in the entire conversation about aging. We talk about the heart, the brain, the joints, but your kidneys? They sit there in silence, filtering 150 quarts of blood every single day, and nobody gives them a second thought until the lab work comes back with a number that makes your doctor pause. By the time you're 60, you've already lost about 25 to 30% of your kidney filtration capacity. That's not disease, that's normal aging, but it means you're operating with a much smaller margin of error. And the tragedy is that the very foods that can protect what's left are the same foods your grandmother had in her kitchen 70 years ago. They disappeared from our tables, and our kidneys have been paying the price ever since. Today I'm going to show you 5 old-fashioned foods that your kidneys are literally crying for after 60. These aren't exotic supplements. These aren't expensive powders. These are real, whole foods that your great-grandmother would recognize, and each one of them works through a specific biological mechanism to protect your remaining kidney function. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to eat, how much, when, and why it works at the cellular level. And I promise you, number 4 on this list is something almost every senior has been told to avoid, and that advice may be one of the biggest mistakes in modern nutrition. Before we get into the list, I want to ask you something. Do me a favor and type your most recent GFR number in the comments if you know it. That's the glomerular filtration rate, the number your doctor uses to measure how well your kidneys are filtering. If you don't know it, type "I don't know" because honestly, that tells me something important too. And if this kind of deep, practical health information matters to you, hit that subscribe button right now because every week I break down another piece of the puzzle that the 10-minute doctor visit doesn't have time to cover. Now let me explain what's actually happening inside your kidneys. Inside each kidney, you have roughly 1 million tiny filtration units called nephrons. Think of each nephron as a miniature water treatment plant. Blood flows in, waste gets filtered out, clean blood flows back. The problem is that after 60, those nephrons start dying off, and unlike liver cells, kidney nephrons do not regenerate. Once one is gone, it's gone. The remaining ones work harder, which creates more pressure, more oxidative stress, more inflammation, and a vicious cycle that grinds down what you have left. Here's the critical piece your doctor doesn't have time to explain. The number one driver of nephron loss isn't some mysterious disease. It's chronic, low-grade inflammation combined with oxidative damage to the delicate capillaries inside each nephron. Those capillaries are thinner than a strand of hair, exquisitely sensitive to inflammatory molecules, excess glucose, and metabolic waste products. Your doctor can measure the damage with a blood test, but the system isn't built to teach you how to prevent it with food. That's what I'm here to do. The first food is bone broth, and I don't mean the watered-down flavor packet version you find in a carton at the grocery store. I mean real bone broth. The kind that your grandmother simmered for 18 to 24 hours until the bones started to crumble and the liquid turned into a thick golden gel when it cooled in the refrigerator. If you grew up in a farmhouse anywhere in America before 1960, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was always a pot on the back of the stove. Always. My own grandmother, she grew up in rural Ohio during the Depression, and she told me once that throwing away bones was like throwing away money. Every chicken carcass, every beef knuckle, every ham hock went into that pot with a splash of vinegar and whatever vegetables were about to turn. The kitchen smelled like warmth itself, that deep, savory, almost meaty sweetness that filled the whole house and told you something nourishing was being made. What she didn't know, and what science has only confirmed in the last 15 years, is that long simmered bone broth is one of the richest natural sources of glycine, proline, and hydroxyproline, three amino acids that are absolutely critical for kidney tissue integrity. Glycine in particular has been shown in research out of the University of North Carolina to act as a powerful anti-inflammatory specifically in renal tissue. It calms down a molecule called NFKB, which is the master switch for inflammation inside the nephron. When NFKB is overactive, your kidneys age faster. When glycine suppresses it, the nephrons get breathing room. But that's not all. Real bone broth also contains gelatin, which breaks down into peptides that help maintain the glycocalyx. Now, that's a word you probably haven't heard before, but it's the thin, gel-like protective coating on the inside of every blood vessel in your kidneys. Think of it like the non-stick coating on a good pan. When that coating wears thin, blood cells and proteins start sticking to the vessel walls, creating damage and scarring. Gelatin from bone broth provides the raw materials your body uses to repair that coating. Here's exactly how to do this. Get grass-fed beef bones or organic chicken carcasses from a butcher or a farm. Place them in a large pot or slow cooker with enough water to cover them by 2 inches. Add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. This is important because the acid pulls minerals out of the bones. Simmer on low for at least 18 hours, 24 is better. Strain it, let it cool. When it's done right, it will jiggle like Jell-O in the fridge. That jiggle is the gelatin, and it means you did it correctly. Drink 1 cup per day, warm. Ideally first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. If you have gout or have been told you have high uric acid, start with half a cup and discuss with your doctor, because bone broth does contain purines. The second food is watermelon, but specifically, it's watermelon with the white rind included, and this is the part that almost everyone throws away. Think about 4th of July in the 1950s. Families out on the lawn, kids with juice running down their chins, and Grandpa sitting in a lawn chair eating his slice all the way down to the green skin. He wasn't being frugal. Well, maybe he was, but he was also accidentally consuming one of the most kidney-protective parts of the entire fruit. The white rind of watermelon is exceptionally rich in an amino acid called L-citrulline. Your body converts L-citrulline into L-arginine, which then produces nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide is crucial for your kidneys because it dilates the tiny blood vessels inside the nephrons, improving blood flow and reducing the pressure that damages those delicate filtration membranes. A study published in the American Journal of Hypertension in 2014 showed that L-citrulline supplementation significantly improved renal blood flow in adults over 50. But here's what makes eating the actual rind superior to taking a supplement. The rind also contains citrulline in combination with lycopene from the red flesh and potassium, creating what researchers call a synergistic antioxidant matrix. The compounds work together in a way that isolated supplements cannot replicate. It's the whole food principle that our grandparents understood without needing a study to prove it. The old-timers in the South actually had a tradition of pickling watermelon rind. You'd peel off the hard green outer skin, cut the white part into cubes, and pickle it with vinegar, sugar, cinnamon, and cloves. It was served as a condiment alongside meals, and it was delicious. That sweet, sour crunch with a hint of warm spice. People made it every summer when watermelons were cheap and plentiful, and they ate it all through the fall and winter. Here's your practical instruction. When you eat watermelon, do not throw away the white rind. Cut it into small cubes and either eat it raw in a salad with a squeeze of lime and a pinch of salt, or blend it into a smoothie with the red flesh. Aim for about 1 cup of rind 3 to 4 times per week during watermelon season. If you prefer the pickled version, use a low-sugar recipe with apple cider vinegar. One important caveat: if you are on a potassium-restricted diet because your kidney function is already significantly reduced, talk to your doctor before increasing watermelon intake. This is critical. Potassium is wonderful for healthy kidneys, but it can be dangerous when kidneys can't excrete it properly. Now pay close attention to number 3 because this is one of the most underappreciated kidney foods in existence, and there's a good chance you have it in your pantry right now without knowing what it can do. The third food is celery, and specifically celery seed and whole celery eaten together as a daily practice. In the Appalachian mountain communities and among the Amish in Pennsylvania, celery has been considered a medicinal food for as long as anyone can remember. Amish families serve celery at weddings, they grow it in their kitchen gardens, and the old women in those communities have been making celery seed tea for joint pain and kidney complaints for generations. It wasn't superstition. They were observing real results, and science has finally caught up to explain why. Celery contains a compound called 3N-butylphthalide, or 3NB for short. This compound does something remarkable in the kidneys. It reduces the production of uric acid by inhibiting the enzyme xanthine oxidase. Now, uric acid is one of the most common and most overlooked drivers of kidney damage in people over 60. Even if your uric acid level is technically in the normal range, if it's in the upper half of normal, it's quietly damaging your kidney tubules every single day. Research from Rutgers University has demonstrated that 3NB from celery not only lowers uric acid production, but also acts as a diuretic in a very gentle, potassium-sparing way. Unlike pharmaceutical diuretics that flush potassium out of your body and can cause dangerous deficiencies, celery's natural diuretic effect increases urine output while helping you retain potassium. That's extraordinary. That's something a drug company would patent in a heartbeat if they could. And then there's luteolin, a flavonoid found in high concentrations in celery leaves, those feathery tops that most people cut off and discard. Luteolin has been shown in animal studies published in the journal Phytomedicine to protect the podocytes, which are specialized cells in the kidney that act as the final filter before urine is formed. When podocytes are damaged, protein leaks into the urine, which is one of the earliest signs of kidney disease. Luteolin helps protect these cells from oxidative damage. Here's how to use celery for kidney protection. Eat 2 to 3 full stalks of celery per day, including the leaves. Eat them raw or lightly sautéed. Do not boil them to death because you'll destroy the 3NB. In addition, brew celery seed tea by crushing 1 teaspoon of whole celery seeds. You can find these in the spice aisle, and steeping them in hot water for 10 minutes. Drink this once per day, preferably in the afternoon. The combination of eating the stalks and drinking the seed tea gives you both the phthalides and the flavonoids in therapeutic amounts. If you're on blood pressure medication or blood thinners, let your doctor know you're adding celery seed tea because it can enhance the effects of both. The fourth food is the one I warned you about, the one that almost every senior has been told to limit or avoid, and I believe that blanket advice is doing tremendous harm to millions of people. The fourth food is eggs, specifically whole eggs with the yolk. For decades, the medical establishment told anyone over 50 to limit eggs because of cholesterol. 2 eggs a week maximum, they said. Throw away the yolk and eat the whites. And an entire generation of Americans dutifully ordered egg white omelets and felt virtuous about it while their kidneys quietly starved for the very nutrients that yolks provide. Let me be absolutely clear about the science. A massive meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal in 2020, looking at data from nearly 300,000 participants, found no significant association between moderate egg consumption and cardiovascular disease or kidney disease in healthy adults. The cholesterol in eggs does not behave in your body the way we were told. Your liver produces the vast majority of your blood cholesterol, and when you eat dietary cholesterol, your liver simply produces less to compensate. The advice to avoid eggs was based on a hypothesis from the 1960s that has not survived modern scrutiny. Now let me tell you what egg yolks actually contain that your kidneys desperately need. First, choline. 1 large egg yolk provides about 150 milligrams of choline, and choline is essential for the production of a molecule called betaine, which protects kidney cells from osmotic stress. Osmotic stress is what happens when the concentration of solutes in the kidney gets too high, which occurs constantly as the kidneys concentrate urine. Without adequate betaine, kidney tubule cells swell, malfunction, and die. The National Institutes of Health has identified choline deficiency as significantly more common in adults over 60, and eggs are the single best food source. Second, egg yolks contain vitamin D in its natural D3 form. Most seniors are deficient in vitamin D, and research published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology has consistently shown that vitamin D deficiency accelerates the progression of chronic kidney disease. The vitamin D in egg yolks is more bioavailable than most supplements because it comes packaged with the fat needed for absorption. Third, and this is the one that gets me excited, egg yolks from pasture-raised hens contain significant amounts of omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA and EPA, which reduce inflammation in the renal vasculature. The difference between a conventional egg and a pasture-raised egg is dramatic. A hen that eats bugs and grass produces a yolk that's deep orange, almost sunset-colored, compared to the pale yellow of a factory egg. That color difference is not cosmetic. It reflects a fundamentally different nutrient profile. Think about your grandparents' farm. The hens ran around the yard. They ate insects. They ate greens. They scratched in the dirt. The eggs those hens produced were a completely different food from what you buy in a styrofoam carton today. My grandmother collected eggs every morning in an old wicker basket, and those yolks stood up tall and round in the pan, deep orange, with a richness you could taste. That's the egg your kidneys are asking for. Here's your practical plan. Eat 2 whole eggs per day, ideally from pasture-raised hens. Cook them gently. Soft boiled or poached is ideal because high heat oxidizes the cholesterol in the yolk, and oxidized cholesterol is the kind that actually causes problems. If you're scrambling them, cook on medium-low heat with butter or olive oil, and pull them off the heat while they're still slightly wet. Eat them with a serving of vegetables because the fat in the yolk dramatically increases your absorption of fat-soluble vitamins from the vegetables. Breakfast is ideal timing. If you have been diagnosed with familial hypercholesterolemia, a genetic condition that affects about 1 in 250 people, then the egg cholesterol conversation is different for you, and you should follow your cardiologist's guidance specifically. Now we've reached number 5, and I saved this one for last because it combines kidney protection with something I know many of you struggle with, sleep quality. And the connection between these two things is something that almost nobody talks about. The 5th food is tart cherry, specifically Montmorency tart cherries, either whole, frozen, or as unsweetened tart cherry juice. There's an old folk tradition in Michigan and upstate New York where tart cherries have been grown for over a century of drinking a glass of tart cherry juice before bed. The cherry farmers themselves swore by it. They said it helped them sleep after long days in the orchards, and they noticed their joints ached less and their urine ran clearer. The old farmers' wives would pit and dry cherries in the summer sun, laying them out on screens on the porch, and they'd reconstitute them in hot water all through the winter as a tonic. The smell of warm tart cherries is something between ripe plums and red wine, this deep, almost burgundy sweetness that fills the kitchen. What those farmers knew intuitively, science has now validated from multiple angles. Tart cherries are one of the few significant natural food sources of melatonin. A study from Louisiana State University found that drinking Montmorency tart cherry juice twice a day increased sleep duration by an average of 84 minutes in adults over 65. Now, here's where the kidney connection comes in. During deep sleep, your kidneys perform their most intensive repair and regeneration work. The glomerular filtration rate actually changes during sleep cycles, and growth hormone, which is released primarily during deep sleep, plays a direct role in maintaining the structural integrity of kidney tissue. Poor sleep means less repair time for your kidneys. Tart cherries, by improving sleep quality naturally, give your kidneys more time in that critical repair window. But tart cherries don't just help your kidneys through sleep. They're extraordinarily rich in anthocyanins, the same class of polyphenols that give them that deep red color. These anthocyanins have been shown to reduce levels of C-reactive protein, a key marker of systemic inflammation, by as much as 25% in some studies. They also inhibit the same xanthine oxidase enzyme that celery targets, meaning they lower uric acid production. A study from Northumbria University in the UK found that tart cherry concentrate reduced uric acid levels significantly after just 48 hours of supplementation. And here's a detail that matters enormously for kidney patients specifically. Unlike many anti-inflammatory foods, tart cherries are relatively low in potassium and very low in phosphorus. Those two minerals are the ones that people with compromised kidney function have to watch most carefully. So tart cherries give you powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits without the potassium and phosphorus load that makes many other fruits problematic for kidney patients. That's a rare combination, and it's why I consider tart cherries the single most underrated kidney food in America. Here's exactly how to use them. Buy frozen Montmorency tart cherries, which are available in the freezer section of most grocery stores, or buy unsweetened tart cherry juice concentrate. If using the juice concentrate, take 1 tablespoon diluted in 6 to 8 ounces of water 30 to 60 minutes before bed. If using whole frozen cherries, eat about a quarter cup, roughly 30 cherries, thawed or blended into a small evening smoothie. The key word is unsweetened. Many commercial cherry juices are loaded with added sugar, which would undo the anti-inflammatory benefits entirely. Read the label. The only ingredient should be tart cherry juice or tart cherries. Do this every evening consistently for at least 2 to 3 weeks before you judge the results. The sleep improvement is usually noticeable within 4 to 5 days. The uric acid reduction takes longer, about 3 to 4 weeks. Now I want to tell you about a woman named Margaret. Margaret is 72. She's a retired school librarian from a small town in Indiana. When she came across information like what I'm sharing today, her GFR had dropped to 47, which put her in stage 3A chronic kidney disease. Her doctor had told her to reduce protein, reduce sodium, and they'd recheck in 6 months. That was the entire plan. Margaret said she felt like she'd been given a diagnosis but no tools. She started making bone broth every Sunday, a big pot that lasted the week. She began eating celery stalks as her afternoon snack instead of crackers, and she brewed celery seed tea. She switched from egg whites back to whole eggs, pasture-raised, 2 per day. And every evening she drank a small glass of diluted tart cherry concentrate before bed. She did not stop any medication. She did not argue with her doctor. She did not follow any extreme diet. She simply added these foods to her existing routine consistently for 5 months. When she went back for her recheck, her GFR had risen to 54. Her doctor was genuinely surprised. Her uric acid had come down from 6.8 to 5.1. Her C-reactive protein had dropped from 4.2 to 1.8. And the thing Margaret mentioned most was that she was sleeping through the night for the first time in years. She told me, "I feel like I got 5 years of my life back, and all I did was eat the foods my mother used to make." Now let me be very direct with you about safety, because this matters. If you are currently taking blood pressure medication, blood thinners like warfarin or Eliquis, diabetes medication including insulin, or any prescription diuretic, you must not make significant dietary changes without telling your doctor. These foods are powerful. That's the whole point. But powerful means they can interact with medications. Celery and celery seed can lower blood pressure and thin the blood. Eggs can affect how certain medications are metabolized. Tart cherry can alter uric acid levels in ways that affect gout medication dosing. Watermelon can increase potassium in ways that matter if your kidneys can't excrete it efficiently. None of this means you can't eat these foods. It means your doctor needs to know so they can adjust your medications if necessary, and so they can monitor your labs as your body responds. Please take this seriously. Print this list, bring it to your next appointment, and have the conversation. The goal is always to work with your doctor, not around them. Now let me tie all of this together because these 5 foods are not random. They all do the same fundamental work through different pathways. Your kidneys after 60 are under siege from 3 forces: chronic low grade inflammation, oxidative stress to the blood vessel linings, and the accumulation of metabolic waste, especially uric acid. Every single food on this list targets at least 2 of those 3 forces. Bone broth calms inflammation and rebuilds the vascular lining. Watermelon rind improves blood flow and delivers antioxidants. Celery lowers uric acid and protects the filtration cells. Eggs provide the raw materials for cellular repair and reduce inflammation through omega-3s and choline. Tart cherries fight inflammation, lower uric acid, and give your kidneys more repair time through better sleep. Together, they create a protective environment around your remaining nephrons. They don't reverse aging, they don't cure disease, but they slow the decline and give your kidneys the best possible chance of maintaining function for years longer than they would on a standard modern diet. Here's your action plan to start this week. Step 1. This weekend, make a batch of bone broth. Get the bones, add the vinegar, simmer for 18 hours, and portion it into jars. Step 2. Buy celery today and start eating 2 to 3 stalks with lunch, leaves included, and brew your first celery seed tea tomorrow. Step 3. Switch to pasture-raised eggs. 2 whole eggs each morning, cooked gently. Step 4. Find unsweetened tart cherry concentrate and start your evening ritual tonight. 1 tablespoon in water before bed. Step 5. When watermelon is in season, save that white rind and eat it with lime and salt or blend it into a smoothie. 5 steps, 5 old foods, 5 pathways to protecting the organs that work harder for you than almost anything else in your body. Now I need to tell you about something that connects directly to everything we covered today, and it's the reason your kidneys might be in trouble even if your labs look fine. In my next video, I'm going to explain the hidden connection between gut bacteria and kidney function, something called the gut-kidney axis, and why a damaged gut lining can send toxins directly into your kidneys that no amount of good food can fully overcome until you fix the gut first. If your GFR has been slowly declining and nobody can tell you why, this might be the missing piece. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, because that video is going to change the way you think about kidney health entirely. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Your kidneys have been working for you every single day of your life without complaint. It's time to start working for them. I'll see you in the next one.